Do you love frugal living, but sometimes you struggle with certain aspects of it, particularly budgeting? If you're like me, budgeting sort of goes in and out of favor with your brain. And in this video, I want to share some research that I've recently done into why that might be true. And I'm going to give you some general thoughts about what I think we can each do to make our budgeting life and our frugal life a little bit better. Welcome, I'm Amy, and here at Frugal Over 50, I give you tips and tools for frugal living. Hola a todos! El día de hoy vamos a hablar de nuestros presupuestos. Porque tal vez es un poco difícil mantener un presupuesto y hay algo que podemos hacer para mejorar la situación. Hablemos. First of all, if you've been around for a while, you know that I historically love and talk about budgets here a whole lot. I have very rightfully credited my use of a budget with helping me get out of financial chaos and into some sort of financial plan. I've also credited my use of You Need a Budget, and I always leave a link below for You Need a Budget for people who might want to try the method that works for me. And a lot of people have also reported over the years on what budgeting methods they use that work well. There's such a variety of ways that you can budget, and it seems like such a great tool to help us on our frugal living journey. It's not everything, but it seems like it's the foundation and the core. But I've looked back over the last couple of years in my life and realized that I have started struggling a lot with maintaining the budget in the way that I used to when I used to talk about it all the time here. Back in the olden times, I used to look at my budget every single day and plan just about every single penny that I spent, and it worked quite well. In the last couple of years, that has not functioned well for me, and what instead has functioned has been just a much larger view of what's happening in large expenses. And I have found it honestly a bit emotionally painful sometimes to go into my budget on a daily basis and see where I am. And I have a really hard time bringing myself to do it. So recently, one night I found myself on my phone just Googling, why are budgets hard? Because that hadn't ever been the case for me. And I was like, why is it suddenly hard? Some of you have talked about budgets being hard. And I was like, why is it hard for me now? Like, I get it. I get why you folks are struggling, because I'm struggling a little bit too, at least to do my budget in the way that I always thought was the only way to bring success. And I found an article from CNBC Select from about 2 years ago. It's called Here's Why Budgets Don't Work for a Lot of People, written by personal finance journalist Trina Paul. And I really wanted to see what she had to say. So right after her introductory paragraph, she says this: it's easy to understand why so many personal finance experts recommend budgeting. It's a simple solution to a complex problem. And I was like, thank you for reading my mind. My reaction to this was like, I must read on. So journalist Trina Paul did some research and interviewed some folks about why people struggle with budgeting. And the first thing that she came up with, this like an overarching problem that people have with budgeting, was this: budgeting can encourage a restrictive mindset around money. Now, for this portion of the article, she interviewed Australian entrepreneur and personal finance writer Melissa Brown, who highlighted comparisons between having a budget and being on a diet. And I just went, oh, I never thought about it that way. Now, what Melissa Brown says is that we each individually need a personal finance plan, something that's not restrictively placed upon us by somebody else. So we can use a program like You Need a Budget or like your pencil and paper method that you love, if that's you, and we can tweak it to our personal needs at any given time. This is something I've been feeling that I need to do, but I've been feeling quite guilty about it. I changed how I did my You Need a Budget setup several months ago, and it worked for several months. Guess what? It's not working anymore. It's feeling restrictive. It's feeling like I need to either ignore it or change my life to match my budget. And so what I've realized from looking at this article is that I actually need to go back again into my You Need a Budget and change it again so that it works for me. And then next month, if it's not working, change it again. So my challenge to myself, and maybe my invitation to you, is to join me in looking at your budget to see, does it actually work for you? Is it a personal finance plan? Now, as we continue on, if you're getting value out of this video, would you give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already? Hit that notification bell so you'll get notified first of new videos, and let's keep going. Now, the second major point in this article was also a light bulb moment for me. It's this: budgeting is difficult when your income or spending is inconsistent. It's something that I have always wondered about. It always seems like budgeting starts from that one time when all of the bad stuff stopped and you had time to set a budget and then you had all this time and income to pay down your debt and start building up savings. And then during all of that time, nothing bad ever happens to you, no big expenses happen, you don't lose a job, you don't have to move. You're just like in a state of financial stasis while you pay down your debt and build up your savings. How do you shift your budget so that it works for you as your income, as your expenses change? Now, for this portion of the article, Trina Paul interviewed researcher Shada Isabel Elmi, who works as a research program manager at the Aspen Institute Financial Security Program. And Shada reported some research that she did with the Aspen Institute that really helped shine a light on why so many of us struggle with budgeting because of volatility in our income and our expenses. She did some research in connection with the Consumer Insights Collaborative, and they came up with this result. Really only one type of worker, higher income, full-time employees receiving workplace benefits, really stands a reasonable shot at financial security. And she was pointing this out because based on some previous research that they had done, people who experience a 25% level of volatility in their income are less likely to have things like workplace benefits, steady hours, steady income, and all of those things create this cascading effect of things go bad and you just don't have the resources to meet those needs. And we're talking real need here. This is research that's based in the United States, but I think that there probably is an application across the globe in which if you experience instability in your job, if you experience instability in your housing, if you experience instability in your level of social supports, healthcare and other things like access to clean water, for instance, then your ability to become financially stable is much, much reduced and may not even be possible. So if you are in the situation where you're really struggling with income volatility and treating it like, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? What this research showed very clearly, Elmi, the researcher, suggests that many of the financial hardships that low and middle income families are struggling with can't simply be addressed with a budget. She points to policy and employer-led solutions like the expanded child tax credit, paid family medical and sick leave, higher wages, and consistent hours to help families weather financial hardships. So that means that there are certain things that we can do. And this article then goes on to point to them and actually highlights you need a budget as a possible way to help you do things like automating small amounts of savings that might be a percentage of what you're getting in. So let's say you have a volatile income. It goes up, it goes down. Instead of saying, I'm going to save $200 with every paycheck, say, I'm going to save X percent of every paycheck, 1% or 2%. So if your paycheck is $20, then you save 1% of that or 2% of that. If your paycheck is $200, same thing. The percentage goes up and down. So you can keep consistent in that way. But it's also important, and I think both angering and reassuring in equal measure, to realize that there genuinely are certain things that we can't do. And it's something that, leaving off of this article, has always bothered me a little bit about a movement that I loved and admired so much for so many years. It was the FIRE movement. It's called Financial Independence, Retire Early. And all of that depends on, first of all, having an infrastructure that allows you access to things like housing, healthcare, clean water, regular access to food, transportation, all of these things. Allows you access to education, allows you access to high income jobs, allows you access to saving and investing in an economy that continues to grow and allows you to personally gain wealth in that particular way, and then allows you to leave your job and live off of the gains from all of those investments and all of that. So where it seems like it's independent, it's not. It's reliant on a whole set of circumstances that just have to be in place before you even start. Now, some people start from a place that I would call absolute zero, and they are my heroes. If you know somebody who started from absolutely nothing and gained financial independence, that's great. But it's much more likely that what we need is steady paychecks, steady health care, steady access to housing, steady access to clean water, steady access to good food. And those things are not things that we can address entirely through our personal budgets. And so that comes to the last point that I want to make. A lot of times we expect ourselves to use a late night Google session or watching a frugal living video to personally and individually solve all of our frugal living problems. Whether it be this one, the fact that I'm struggling with a budget, so I've created a whole video to help myself and maybe encourage you as well. But we really need to be together, both across whatever country we live in and across the globe. We need to be committed in the way that we live, in the way that we work, in the way that we vote, and just in the way that we generally support each other, to creating a world where everybody has access to the things that keep us alive, that keep us going, and that give us enough of a cushion that we can then build on it. In the meantime, I feel very encouraged by this article, and I hope that you have found this video encouraging as well, because I feel confident that it is fine and okay and in fact wonderful and desirable for me to go back to my budget and say, you're not working for me. I'm going to take you in a little bit here. I'm going to let you out a little bit there. Because at the end of the day, there are certain things I can take care of, certain things I have control over, and there's a vast swath of things that I can't control. And what I can control is listening to myself, looking at my actual life situation, and making the best choices that I can at any given moment, so that as I go forward, I can feel as confident as possible in the situation where I am. And as we keep going, as always, wherever you are on your frugal living journey, take that next step, whatever the next step is for you, and know that you are not alone, and I am so proud of you. Live frugally, change your life, and together we will change the world. I can't wait to see you again soon. Nos vemos pronto. Bye!